let's register a domain name that you can use as your website address. Registering your own domain name is easy and can be done for as little as $10 a year. The trick, however, is finding a relatively good name that hasn't already been taken. Because there are a limited number of words in the English language, domain names have become a little like internet real estate. The shorter and easier to remember domains, and especially the ones that are directly related to a product or service, can attract lots of web traffic and can be worth a lot of money. So what makes a good domain name? Well, here are a few things to keep in mind as you begin looking for one to use for your website. It's best to keep it short and simple. Your goal should be to choose a domain that represents your website in a way that's easy to remember. A domain name like pizza.com is great, but that's a really good domain name and probably already taken. Make sure it's easy to spell. Getting clever with your domain spelling or using words that are easily misspelled is just going to cause confusion. Names that have hyphens or other special characters are not only hard to remember, but also hard to describe. A good tip is to imagine telling a friend about your website over the phone. Will they have any trouble finding it? Make sure your domain's descriptive. Think about how your domain name will be used and the first impression someone will get before they ever visit your website. For example, on a business card, a website with the domain name pizzadelivery.com conveys the right idea immediately, while something like cheese and tomatoes transfer24.com does not. Consider the keywords. Not only is a good domain name descriptive, but it also helps your website to be found with a search engine. Imagine you mention your website to a friend at a party, but later they couldn't remember what the website address was. Chances are they'll Google the words they can remember. I remember it had something to do with help for websites. Having those words in your domain name will make it more likely that they'll be able to find you. Stay away from numbers. Especially when your website comes up in conversation, the numbers can get confusing. Is the number spelled out 4, or is it the numerical 4? Or a domain name like toofancy.com is just confusing. You may find yourself having to clarify more often than not. Stick with a fairly common domain name extension. The extension is sort of like defining a category that your website belongs to. You may have seen website addresses with others like .org, which is commonly used for nonprofit organizations, or .edu, which is short for education and used by schools and universities. Website Help TV uses the .tv extension, which is really just a declaration that we're all about video. The most popular extension, of course, is .com. There are lots of other extensions you can use, such as .net, .biz, or .me, but especially as you start your search, it's best to stick with an extension that people immediately associate with a website. At the end of the day, your goal should be to choose a relevant domain name that makes your website as easy to find as possible. Take your time and consider several options before you decide to register one. I'm sure you've already been thinking of names for your website and have a few ideas brewing, so let's see what's available. Pause this video here and try searching for a domain name that you might want to use for your website in the search field below. The domain name extensions in red are already taken, but the blue ones, those are available. It looks like pizzaguy.org is available. If the domain name you had in mind is not available, don't give up. You may be able to find alternatives that are close to your original idea, but still work well. Here's a trick you can use. Try coming up with a bunch of words that could be used as prefixes, such as best, top, my, or the, as well as possible suffixes, such as hub, HQ, spot, or zone. And then combine those with your primary keywords. Hopefully you can come up with something like the pizza zone or my pizza hub. Have you found one? Let's claim your little corner of the internet by registering the domain name so that nobody else can use it. There are lots of domain name registrars, but GoDaddy is the world's largest, and while I'm not a big fan of their television ads, their prices are the best available. Let's head over there by clicking on the little blue com, net, or org domain extensions of the available domain name you landed on. I think I'm going to register mypizzahub.com. I'll click on the little blue .com to take me to GoDaddy. Right off the bat, you'll see GoDaddy recognizes that mypizzahub.com is available. I'm going to click on the orange Add to Cart button, and it's going to give me a few options. Now, GoDaddy is notorious for upselling you on all sorts of stuff that you may or may not need. In this case, they're trying to get you to buy privacy protection. If you have a domain name and you don't want anybody else to know you have it, you can pay a little extra to hide your information. We just want the domain name only, and so I'm going to click Add to add this to my cart. You'll see over here to the right, mypizzahub.com has been added to my shopping cart, so I'll continue to checkout. Again, GoDaddy tries to upsell me on a whole bunch of other services that I don't necessarily need at this point, so I'm going to hit continue. Now we're at our shopping cart, and you'll see that for $39.95, $40 with tax, I can register this domain name for 5 years. However, 5 years is a long time, and I don't necessarily know if mypizzahub.com, the business I'm starting, is really going to last that long. It's best to stick with 1 year at a time until you know that your business is established and you're really ready to invest in your domain name. I'm going to change this term to 1 year, and you'll see the prices reflected. Now, before we check out, I would like to see if I can find a promo code, so I'm going to head over to retailmenot.com. I'm going to search for GoDaddy.com to see if we can find additional promo codes. Let's see. 75% off. That's fantastic. I'm going to click on this promo code, close this window, and jump back over to my promo code field and apply this promo code. $8.17 down to $2.67. That's awesome. Now that I've entered my promo code, I'm going to click checkout. GoDaddy's going to ask me if I already have an account. In this case, I'm a new customer. I'll enter my email address, my username, and create a password. Establishing a call-in PIN is simply for customer support over the phone. If you get on the phone with GoDaddy and need help with your domain name, they're going to ask you for your 4-digit PIN. So I'll establish that now. I'll hit continue when I've got all my information added. On this step of the process, I'll need to enter my payment information. I'm going to enter my credit card number, and the name of my card. I'll set the expiration date and enter the 3-digit verification number on the back. This checkbox here is letting GoDaddy know that next time I register a domain name, I'd like to use this credit card. I'll leave that checked. I'll enter the billing information. I think we're all set. I'm going to review my information one more time just to make sure I've got everything correct, and then I'll place my order. And to make sure that we're human and not some spam robot, GoDaddy requests that we enter the code in the image. I'll verify, and it looks like we're all set. I just registered mypizzahub.com. I'm going to click on the green Getting Started button, and it'll take me to my domain name settings. Let's skip past this, hit no thanks, and you'll see that mypizzahub.com now appears in my list of domain names. At this point, we've got hosting set up and we've also registered a domain name. However, we need to connect the two. So the next step is to click on my domain name, and then on the tab that says DNS zone file, I'm going to set this IP address to my website. I'll click on Edit, and then I need to find that @ record. The IP address currently points to this IP address, so we need to change that by clicking on the pencil. Now, to find the IP address, let's jump back over to the WordPress admin. As long as we're set up with web hosting through Website Help TV, you'll see a domain mapping option under Tools. The custom domain name field here is where we'll want to enter our newly registered domain name. You'll also notice that the IP address that we need to set it to is up here. I'll copy this, jump back over to GoDaddy, and I'll enter my IP address here. Once that's all set, I need to make sure to hit the Save Zone file. Click OK to confirm. And it says that my changes will take up to 48 hours, but they could be as fast as 1 hour. Let's click OK. It'll refresh the page and you'll see my IP address is now there. That's it, we're all set. Let's jump back over to the domain name settings and I'll click on Add. There we go. We got set up with our own hosting, we registered a domain name, and we pointed the domain name to the correct IP address, mapping that domain to our hosting account. Now we go to mypizzahub.com and it should pull up our website. There you have it, mypizzahub.com.